So, without further ado, let's meet Val and Earl and find out that today was a really bad day to choose to try to leave Perfection, Nevada.
Oh, but there is so much more to 1990. Welcome to Tonka,
Buffalo,
to Geek Salad episode 197. We can remember it for you wholesale. I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Catherine.
I'm
I was waiting for Joe, and there's no Joe.
There's no Joe.
And tonight we actually have two very special guests. Joining us again is our good friend and constant contributor, Jim.
Kind of fast and loose with that. Very special.
Okay, well, you know, I don't make the definitions, I just enforce them.
Thank you.
And this one's been a long time coming. The peanut butter to our alcohol-infused chocolate. Yeah, I knew I was going to have to build this one up. All the way from lovely England, right in the backyard of Hogwarts School for Witchcraft from Wizardry. It is M from Verbal Diorama.
Hello! I was not expecting you to say that. I have to be honest.
No one ever is.
No one ever is.
Surely I'm more the jelly to the peanut butter. I mean, maybe that's a controversial statement, but...
Oh, no, we're the... Oh, good Lord. You don't have Reese's peanut butter cups in England?
Oh, absolutely we do.
Okay, yeah, well, that's the chocolate to the peanut butter. Except...
Yeah, no, I understand that. I just assumed that peanut butter and jelly was a bit more... American?
Yeah, but I can't infuse alcohol into either of those. And
yes, you can.
Sure you
Have
can.
you ever heard of jelly shots? Well, I suppose it's a different type of jelly.
Oh, that's a
It's
different type
Jell-O.
of Jell-O.
So isn't that
Yeah.
Jell-O?
No.
But
Yeah.
Imagine making a peanut butter and Jello sandwich with that, though.
Oh, God.
Work. You've never tried it.
All right. Hey, we're 2 minutes in. We're already off the rails. Excellent. So, anyway, yes, Em and I have been kind of chatting back and forth for like the better part of a year and a half, trying to figure out a way to get her to have a discussion with us, what with the 5-hour time difference. And fortunately, if anything good came out of us being closed up during COVID, is that we figured out a way that we can all do the show remotely. So, Em, I am so happy to have you on the show today as we discuss the movies of 1990.
Woo!
I mean, thanks COVID-19 for making this happen. So if you're going to thank COVID for something, you're going to thank COVID for this.
The sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. So, anyway, yes. So, and I know Catherine said she was waiting for Joe. And Joe is at work right now for whatever godforsaken reason. So hopefully he's able to join us a little later on. But we are going to go in and discuss the top movies of 1990. And as you noticed on the title, we did post that this is part 1. This episode is going to go way too freaking long. So we decided that we're going to split this into 2. So part 1, we are going to discuss our social media feedback and the top 15 domestic movies of the year, followed up by everything else that came out. So let's start.
We're actually splitting it beforehand this time.
Yes, exactly. So you won't have that weird break.
We know we're going to go long.
There were just times when this has to happen. So Anyway, let's kick off with some social media feedback from Facebook. I'm just trying to see here because I had one from Mr. Dave McLean, and for some reason it just kind of. Oh yes, here we go. I'm now going on to Wild at Heart, David Lynch's noir Wizard of Oz road movie that gets my vote for the moment when the 90s really began. I will also remind you of the story of my roommate from college, Craig, who dressed up as Edward Scissorhands all through college, and he never stopped.
Must have got a lot of tail.
Yep. Oh, yeah. It's, coming out of a New York art school. Absolutely. Yeah. And then we've got also a friend of the show and sometimes contributor Matt Jones, who mentioned two from 1990, Nuns on the Run, the movie that introduced him to Robbie Coltrane, and also Memphis Belle, one of the more underrated movies of the decade. That's true. That's one of those movies that doesn't pop up all that much when you discuss war movies. That one never comes up.
Nuns on the Run?
No, Memphis Belle.
Oh.
Yes, Nuns on the Run.
Yeah. Catherine, you had some stuff from Facebook, right?
Yeah, Jonna also put in Nuns on the Run, and she also mentioned Betsy's Wedding, a.k.a. Molly Ringwald destroys another perfectly good formal.
Were there any others on yours?
Oh yeah, I got a lot. Chris from Chris's Cultural Corner had Hunt for Red October, Goodfellas, Home Alone, Total Recall, all the big hits. Gremlins 2, The New Batch, and The Freshman. Here he is, your Komodo dragon. Let's see. Lynn Moni of Prunella's Jewelry had Witches, which I haven't seen, but I really got to get to. Jeff Tilton had a bunch of comments. He mentioned Wild at Heart, Nicolas Cage. One of his very favorite movies came out that year, which is Parlez-moi d'amour. And, of course, Robot Jocks.
Of course.
Yep.
I know that one.
Okay, well, we'll discuss that. That one actually is probably going to get some discussion later on. This is just kind of giving you a taste of what the movies of 1990 were like. Mike, you said you had one, right?
Yeah, Paul English said Tremors is a fantastic film from that year, and let's not forget the film that held the record for the highest-grossing independent film of all time for almost 10 years, the original and still greatest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Wow. So, John Saul, in response to my RoboCop 2 gift that I put up on Facebook, said I'd buy that for $1, which I don't know if that actually appeared in RoboCop or not. RoboCop 2. I know it was RoboCop 1.
Yeah.
And then we had a whole slew from our good friend Steve Day, who writes, I remember liking Ski Patrol, but I feel that just because all the skiing teen movies that started about 6 years later. Hard to Kill marks the start of our awareness of Steven Seagal and the end of our awareness of Kelly LeBrock. Nightbreed.
That's the problem, man.
Nightbreed is what happened when X-Men fucked the Crow.
Oh.
Starring Craig Schaefer, who plays the poor man's whatever. Jim, I believe you called him the poor man's Brad Pitt.
Yes. Just because of the chin dimple. That's pretty much it.
I remember when he did Some Kind of Wonderful and he played the poor man's James Spader.
I actually just watched that movie a couple weeks ago.
Oh, what? Yeah. Some Kind of Wonderful?
I did.
Oh, it's like Pretty in Pink with a sex change.
I always thought that James Spader was the poor man's James Spader.
Oh, now he is. He looks like a baked potato on top of a suit.
Yeah.
Okay, up until right now, I was definitely sure a 90s version of The Handmaid's Tale was a Lifetime original. I will cut anyone that says Joe versus the Volcano wasn't kind of funny a little.
Oh, absolutely.
Blonde Fury, a love letter to USA, up all night. Because it's impossible to say it any other way. Wait, this was the year that 2 Lombarda movies nobody wanted came out? Oh, sweet Menachem Golan, how I miss thee. John Waters casting Tracy Lords in Crybaby is the most John Waters thing that John had ever watered.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
Firebirds. Okay, so it's Top Gun, but with helicopters and Nicolas Cage. What could go wrong? I feel like Warren Beatty made Dick Tracy just for himself. Days of Thunder. Okay, it's Top Gun.
Oddly enough, only he liked it, so.
Yep. Days of Thunder. Okay, so it's Top Gun, but with race cars, and we get Tom Cruise this time. What could go wrong? Hello, my name is Steve, and I paid $7 to see The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Ooh.
I know somebody who spent $15 to buy the VHS.
Oh, good Lord.
That's
okay, well, we're gonna that's gonna we have a conversation planned on that for part 2. The Freshman marks the start of our awareness of Kimono Dragons and the end of our awareness of Matthew Broderick and probably Bruno Kirby. Ooh, Navy SEALs.
Oh, jeez.
Does Liam Neeson put Darkman on his resume?
My response to that was I was wondering whether he put Krull and that episode of Miami Vice he was in on his resume.
I don't acknowledge any of that. Dolph Lundgren sees Rutger Hauer blind fury and raises him with "I come in peace." If one film from 1990 should be preserved by the National Film Registry, it's Troll 2.
Oh.
Wasn't Welcome Home Roxy Carmichael the movie Winona Ryder did instead of Godfather 3?
Yeah.
The existence of Quigley Down Under implies the existence of films featuring Quigley in some other parts of the world.
Quigley and Hoboken.
The Rescuers Down Under implies the existence of a film that did actually exist. And yeah. I'm sorry I pretended to like robot jocks for so long. And of course, Jeff Tilton actually responds to this too. I love robot jocks. It's a micro budget. It's 10 times the movie that Pacific Rim is. Oh, it's okay. We can like different things. So That was from Facebook, and now from Twitter. We only had a couple of responses, and they were all done today. I figured that if I tagged Em on this, maybe some of her fans would come out for this.
What fans? What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm
right here.
We all listen to your show, which is why you have 6 subscribers.
Which is why I have 6 downloads every episode. Thanks!
There you go. So, KCA, Night of Autumn, put a GIF of Tremors, which is near and dear to Em's heart, as she had done an episode on that.
Such a great movie.
And there's one here about Tammy and the T-Rex is a weird little film. This is from Trivia Chick. Ice Cream Man with Clint Howard is another one. Wow.
Clint Howard had a featurette.
Oh, yes.
Jim, it was a low-budget horror movie.
I know, but it's Clint Howard. I mean, they could have gone to 7-Eleven and found someone better than Clint Howard.
Oh, well.
Oh, come on. When you bring Clint Howard in, you bring class.
And amazingly, it was a movie that wasn't directed by Ron Howard. So.
You think?
Yeah. So, you know what? I totally forgot to do one thing. When we introduced Em, can you tell us just a little bit about your show for people who may not be listening to it? I mean, all 6 of us subscribe to it, but give us your elevator pitch. Why should our 18 subscribers follow you?
Well, I'm British. American people like the accent.
Wait a second.
That should surely be the only reason you'll ever need. However, so what I like to do is I like to look at the history and legacy of movies you know and movies you don't. I've got a little theme song which describes actually that in quite good detail. And as previously mentioned, Tremors is one of the movies that I have featured. It's actually the only movie from 1990 that I've ever featured. Which I think makes it special. It elevates it in the realm of 1990. It wasn't a big box office success, but it was a success to me.
Yes.
And just for practical effects and all of those lovely things that I really love. But yeah, I have a podcast, and please listen to it. Thanks. I don't know what to say. I'm not very good at selling myself.
You know what?
British accent.
Okay, there we go. Add a little class to your podcast stream. So, anyway, all right. So as we always do, we are going to be discussing the top domestic grossing movies of the year as our part 1, and we're going to start with the top 15. And starting off this countdown at number 15, taking in $71.6 million, Three Men and a Little Lady.
Kick it. Huh. Introducing Matt, Peter, and Jack. Well, you're rapping 3 dads doing the merry rap. You're just a little lady and you need your sleep. Don't want to hear no job talking about something to eat. Break down. Lights out. Here we go.
We will party down Lady Kill and dance until dawn till your food spitting toilet train and change our song.
Now we're situated bachelor-stated fathers in waiting who'd rather hang with you than the one he's been dating. Say, Mary, did you wash your face?
Yo! Say, Mary, did you brush your teeth? Yo!
Oh, God.
Is that a good oh God or a bad oh God?
Oh,
That's bad.
It's
What?
horseshit. Oh, God.
Oh no! I love Three Men and a Little Lady. It's not as good as Three Men and a Baby, obviously, but I think it's really sweet.
But the whole point of it, the first movie was two macho guys in Gutenberg get a baby. And then you get the second one, and there's no point to any of it other than, Tom Hanks and the woman on the show with Tim Allen, whatever her name is. There's a little bit of heat going on there. Look out. But other than that, it's just... I hate to say it, thank you, COVID-19, once again. I did pull that gem out. Seeming to think because I saw it in the theater, and I thought I might have liked it. I did not.
I think it rides on the nostalgia of Three Men and a Baby. Absolutely, it does. But I think that the kind of winning formula, they knew they had a winning formula with Steve Guttenberg and Ted Danson and
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck,
not Tom Hanks.
Yeah, Tom Selleck.
Did I say Hanks?
You did. Yeah, you did say Hanks.
Yes.
But they clearly had a winning formula with that, and so they milked it. And they milked that cash cow, and they milked it some more. And to be honest, I think it's completely inoffensive. I think it's very sweet. And yeah, it's a bit saccharine, sweet. It's a bit sentimental. But I'm more than happy to sit and watch Three Men and a Little Lady. If it just happens to be on TV, I will happily sit and watch it. I think it's quite a sweet, lovely little film. That's just unfortunately not the one that came before it.
Todd, Catherine, Mike, any thoughts on Three Men and a Little Lady or 3M and an LL?
3M and an LL.
And an L squared.
We'll talk about this later when we don't talk about the top 15 domestic releases. But this feels just like Look Who's Talking to me.
Oh my!
That same formula, that same it worked the first time. Let's do it again, and it's fine. I have no problem with it. But
okay.
I wouldn't call it a cinematic masterpiece by any means.
This movie is important because it marks the end of Gutenberg Mania.
Oh, you're right.
I mean, after this movie, he didn't have another big screen feature till 1995. 5 years.
Oof.
There was something about Steve Guttenberg, though. Genuinely, there was something about him that as a young kid, I found very appealing. I definitely think that he was probably the most fanciable of the three men. And... I admit to having a bit of a young crush on Steve Guttenberg when I was younger.
He's definitely the everyman of that crew.
Absolutely,
the hair, the chin.
Yeah.
Tom Selleck is Magnum, and then there's Guttenberg, who's relatable. So
and Ted Danson is
Sam Malone. Yeah. I feel like with the Goot, he really kind of comes across as, and I think why younger people liked him so much, because he always comes across as being the cool uncle, he was the cool uncle. It's your grandparents had a whole slew of kids, and he was kind of like the oops baby that is at least 10 years younger than all the other aunts and uncles. So he kind of is just a little older than you, and he's the one to buy a beer and, sneak weed with you. And that's just my take on Steve Guttenberg.
I remember watching my first porno with Uncle Steve.
He asked me if I liked that, and I wandered off. So, okay, let's move on to number 14, $80.8 million, another 48 hours.
You made me miss, Cap.
Look good, Reggie.
I ain't seen you in years, man. I thought you was my friend.
Well, I'm sorry. I've been busy.
Yeah, me too. You must be pretty desperate to come down here, man. You even got a new haircut. What's going on?
Well, times change.
Like you lost a couple of pounds.
Quit drinking.
So what, the warden picked you to come in here and tell me my sentence got yanked up another 5 years or something?
Now, relax. You're still getting out tomorrow. But when you do, you and me's got another little job to do.
Man, you and me don't have shit to do. When I get out of here, just give me my fucking money and walk away from me, all right? Because I played that cop shit once and it don't work. Have my money when I get out, please.
Oh, wait a minute, Reggie. You don't get it. You see, if you don't help me out on this one, I'm not ever going to give you your money back.
You fuck with me, all right?
No?
Hey, Jack. I gave you that money in good faith. But you told me I could fucking trust you. Now you gonna tell me after all this shit I can't have my money?
Yeah, now you got the picture, convict.
Nick
I
Nolte?
don't remember that. Not really. The first one's hysterical. But...
Oh, the first one is I mean, it's a landmark in Eddie Murphy's career, obviously. But, you know, like,
I think
Todd,
it's his first movie.
It is.
I think it's his first full length.
But Todd, you had mentioned about, you know, Just with Three Men and a Little Lady, and, you know, Look Who's Talking Too. This is just trying to return to the well. But, you know, 8 years later.
Another 48 years.
And we kind of touched on this last year when we discussed the movies of '89, where Eddie Murphy's star was really beginning to fall at this point because he had done Harlem Nights the year before that.
Was this before or after Beverly Hills Cop 3?
No, this is before Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Oh, yeah,
Don't
so this
forget
is...
A Vampire in Brooklyn.
How can I forget A Vampire in Brooklyn, Jim?
I've already forgotten A Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
What?
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Oh, Catherine is not aware of A Vampire in Brooklyn?
No, I'm saying that I've forgotten it too.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
on with the
obviously,
joke, Andy.
I was being clever, too clever for Andy.
Yeah, exactly. This is the problem with not being able to see you guys. It's like, you know, just having everybody in the same room together. Yeah, well, I guess we could move on from another 48 hours because M is, like, very quiet. And
Well, to be honest, I've never seen it. So
Okay.
I
Have you
feel
seen
like
the
I
first
can't
movie,
comment.
have you seen the first movie, though?
If I say no, does that mean I get booted off?
Nope. No, it's quite all right.
I haven't seen 48 Hours either.
Okay, that's fair. All right, so number 13, $82.6 million. Days of Thunder, the movie that Steve had mentioned it's Tom Cruise as in Top Gun, but instead of a plane, it's a car.
The second best NASCAR movie.
Pulled over.
All right, everybody out and up against the wall here. You're under arrest. Let's go. Move it. The hell for? It's right there in your hand. Transportation of illegal alcohol across state lines for the purpose of distribution.
Well, I don't want to disrespect you, officer. This is not distribution. This is consumption.
Well, that don't exactly make it legal.
You know what?
Now, up against the wall.
What is this?
Up against the wall. Officer.
Well, looks like we found something.
What's that?
Concealed weapon.
Where?
Right here. Now, the only question is, will he actually use it?
What's the first best?
Sorry.
Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I was going to say as well some horrific attempts at accents as well in Days of Thunder.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You know what? It's almost embarrassing watching Americans try to like affect Southern accents that they don't have naturally.
Yeah.
Wasn't that movie though the beginning of the? Well, maybe not the beginning, but it was like right in the middle of the Tom Cruise plays a character who is the best at what he does, but he's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
I thought he was always doing that.
He's typecast, yeah.
Okay.
But this was him and Nicole Kidman, right?
That's what they met.
This is the first time they met. This is
Yeah.
the first movie that they met in. And the thing is that the pedigree in this movie is fantastic. I think Tony Scott's the director for this one.
Robert Duvall.
You got Robert Duvall in it. You got Michael Rooker in it. You have a decent cast, but I think that because it's low box office turnout, people were like really starting to question Tom Cruise's ability to draw. And then like 2 years later, he did Far and Away, which I remember seeing the ad for that, seeing him try to do an Irish accent. I'm like, okay, nope.
Oh yeah, even worse.
I fold. So I'm guessing that none of us have seen this one either, or haven't seen it long enough to. Todd?
Yeah.
Haven't seen it. Cannot speak to it.
Okay.
I'm aware of it, but
it's a thing that happened.
It's a thing. I know what it is.
So
Michael Rooker must have played the evil hayseed in it, right?
As was his job in the 90s, Jim.
Yes.
As he is oft wont to do.
Yeah.
Well, I think his application to the Royal Shakespeare Theatre says evil hayseed.
Let me ask you a question. Can you play Judd in Oklahoma, but in this action movie?
Yes.
Okay. So, number 12, $86.3 million. And a movie that my Movies Anywhere account gave me for free, Presumed Innocent.
Sandy should be available in a couple hours.
See what they got.
Can't believe there could be any more surprises.
That's when they come. That's why they're called surprises.
So, do we now understand the LaGuardia's case?
Yes, I think I do.
Let me hear it.
Savage is obsessed with Palamas. She ditches him for another man. Savage becomes enraged. He can't let go. One night, knowing his wife will be going out, calls her up, begs her to see him again. Carolyn finally agrees. She rolls around with him for old lang syne, but then something goes wrong. Savage is jealous. He wants more than she's willing to give. He blows it. Gives her what for with some heavy instrument. Decides to make it look like rape. Savage is a prosecutor. This way he knows there'll be dozens of suspects. So he ties her up, opens the latches to make it look like someone slipped in. And this is the diabolical part. Pulls out her diaphragm so it looks like rape. But in his haste...
Oh, Richard Gere?
No, Harrison Ford.
I was going to say Harrison Ford.
Oh yeah, that one.
That was good.
That's the Amish one, right?
No, that's Witness.
Oh, Witness. Okay, I'm super confused.
Well, I mean, yeah, roll the dice. You have a chance of getting it right. They're all pretty much the same.
Presumed Innocent is the movie where Harrison Ford is wrongfully accused of murder, but this isn't The Fugitive. He was accused of murdering the woman he was having an affair with. And spoiler alert for the 30-year-old movie, turns out his wife did it by freezing his semen and injecting it into the dead body.
Well, that's not how she killed her.
That's not how she killed her. No, but that's how she framed him for it.
Oh.
I literally don't have a clue what this movie is. I'm even looking at it on Wikipedia. I'm looking at the poster, and I still don't know what it is.
I'm more familiar with Witness, which I've never seen either.
Yeah, this was like their attempt to try to get Harrison Ford to be considered a serious actor again, because you had Witness in '85, then you had this in 1990, and then I think the following year was Regarding Henry.
Oh boy.
Or he
Harrison Ford is accused of murder. Yeah, which movie is that one?
Again.
Fugitive.
Again. All right. So I got one here that I think we can all talk to. 87.7 million, number 11 for the year. Back to the Future, Part 3.
Yes.
All right.
Love it.
Haven't had a hanging in a long time.
They'll shoot the fleas off a dog's back at 500 yards, Tannen, and it's pointed straight in your head.
You owe me money, blacksmith.
How do you figure?
My horse threw a shoe. And seeing as you was the one that done the shoe, and I say that makes you responsible.
Well, since you never paid me for the job, I say that makes us even.
Wrong! See, I was on my horse when it threw the shoe, and I got thrown off. And that caused me to bust a perfectly good bottle of fine Kentucky Red Eye. So the way I figure it, blacksmith, you owe me $5 for the whiskey and $75 for the horse. That's $80.
Look, if your horse threw a shoe, bring him back and I'll resue him.
I done shot that horse!
Well, that's your problem, Tannen.
Wrong. That's yours. So from now on, you better be looking behind you when you walk, because one day you're gonna get a bullet in your back.
Okay, so let me ask the controversial question here. Is this anybody's not third favorite Back to the Future movie?
I think it's my second favorite. Really? I think two is more the third favorite.
Okay. I am genuinely interested in hearing your reasoning for that.
Because it's just, it's a goofy series. Let's just dial the goof to 11 and not give a shit, as opposed to the second one where they're trying to actually have something to say, and I don't know. It kind of depends on my mood which one I would rather watch, if I'm going to watch 2 or 3. And currently, I've wrapped up 65 hours of work this week. I've got at least another 8 to go. And so I would like all the goofiness, please.
Okay, and, that's absolutely fair. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Given the current political crisis, I would say that 2 is probably a little bit too on the nose.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I can understand why some people would like 3 in that case. Yeah.
And this is something I actually, and now that, and it didn't really occur to me until Catherine had mentioned it. This one doesn't go into the whole crazy science explanations why, 2 flies from different time streams can't meet without destroying the entire universe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like this one doesn't go into, no, you can't do that because this will happen. The Earth will implode upon itself, Marty.
Well, yeah.
That's a really good point that I didn't actually think of before.
Yeah, but he didn't have time because I think he and Mary Steenburgen were doing it, so he didn't have time to get into, oh, Marty, if you do this and you do that, you're gonna blow the universe to smithereens. He just, he was getting laid.
Yeah.
And taught a whole generation how to speak to women. Thank you, Doc Brown. Appreciate it.
Exactly.
Doc
Brown has moves that Todd is using to this day.
Oh boy, we bust out that telescope. We're gonna look. We're gonna talk about Jules Verne. It's gonna be great.
Oh man, this is the movie.
I love this movie. I love this movie so much. I can't say that it is my least favorite of the Back to the Future movies, but that still means I like it more than most movies. That's how much Back to the Future means to me. I love Westerns, so this feels just right to me as a Western. And the minute I saw this tweet from Lin-Manuel Miranda, everybody's favorite, Broadway composer and
historian,
multi-talented person. It was a few years ago. He was just kind of riffing, and he just said, like, the Back to the Future trilogy perfectly sums up everybody's existential crisis, being concerned about one's past, being concerned about one's future, and cowboy. And that's it. But that being said, I love it. I love every second of it. It's a blast to watch.
Awesome. Thank you.
Clint
Yeah,
Eastwood.
You know what? The weird thing was too. I remember seeing this movie, and I don't know. Some of you might remember this. I know Jim, you might remember this. Catherine, maybe. I know I definitely remembered it because my mind's still crap for stupid shit. But the Hubba Bubba ads that took place in the Old West, where that kid would come in with like his legs, like he just got off a horse, and one of the old cowboys in there with the bowler hat was in Back to the Future 3, and I'm like, that's the Hubba Bubba cowboy.
Only you
Wow.
would notice.
Yeah.
something like that.
Yes, only me, Jim. But
Hey,
it's a
that
very
is a
Andy thing to
Deep
say.
dive.
Yeah.
Jacksonville commercial. I know him.
There's
Say
also
that Clint Eastwood was the biggest yellow belly in the West.
That was Pat Buttram, wasn't it?
I think so. I guess maybe. I don't know cowboy actor names.
No, because he was also the voice of I want to say the Sheriff of Nottingham in the Disney animated Robin Hood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that voice.
Yes. Now you mention it, there is a definite similarity. Yeah, absolutely. Didn't even think of that either. I'm learning so much, guys.
Yeah, there's also that infamous scene too when Doc and Clara go to 1985, and he shows his boys, both Jules and Vern, because you know.
Yes.
And one of the kids is pinching himself in the junk so hard. It's like once you know that exists,
you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it. It's like when somebody tells you that the downtown area from the original Back to the Future was also the downtown in Gremlins, you can't unsee that.
When somebody tells you about the stormtrooper banging his head on the doorway walking in the first Star Wars, you see that every time.
I was 14 years old when I first heard about that, and now it's like the only thing I think of. That's why I thought that was actually Grand Admiral Snoke. It makes total sense. All right.
May I just quickly say something on Back to the Future?
Absolutely.
I was actually a little bit surprised that this was so low. But then I realised you're only doing domestic box office.
Yeah.
I assume worldwide, I think this is a lot higher if you take worldwide box office into account. Because, Back to the Future is generally regarded as, one of the greatest, most flawless trilogies ever made. You kind of put it up there with, the first Star Wars movies,
right.
Generally quite seen as, perfect. The Toy Story movies. It's one of those whereby it's very difficult, I think, to say what your favourite is because you like bits of all of it. And Back to the Future Part 3, I do always, whenever that little boy comes on screen, it's one of those where it always kind of makes me laugh now that I know the story about the little boy desperately needing a wee. And pointing to himself because he was trying to tell the director that he just really, really needed to go. But I think there's such a fondness for kind of all of the Back to the Future movies that it's one of those that I feel like it feels almost inevitable that Hollywood will do another one. It just feels like I don't want them to do it, but it feels like it's inevitable, because of the way Hollywood is.
Yeah, but if they do it, it's probably going to be a reboot.
Well, exactly. That's kind of the worst possible scenario as well, because no one wants to reboot these movies. Literally, no one wants it. But yeah, I at first I was quite astonished that Back to the Future was low, but then I realised it's domestic. I think, like I say, worldwide, I think it's pretty up there for the year. I don't have it in front of me, but I assume it is.
I do actually have it in front of me.
I knew you were doing that, Mike. I had it up in front of me too, but
I've got the top 10 highest grossing films of 1990 via worldwide gross.
Yeah.
And actually, Back to the Future Part 3 is number 6.
Okay.
244.5 million.
Which is interesting, considering also this is $1990, so these dollars are 30 years, less inflated. I that actually surprised me a little bit because Westerns on the whole are such an American genre. I don't know exactly how well it does internationally.
Well, technically speaking, they're also an Italian genre.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Anybody else have anything to say about Back to the Future 3 before we move on?
Doc can dance.
Doc can dance.
Ah.
All right. Let's move on. $94.1 million. Number 10. Is that a tumor? No, it's not a tumor. It's Kindergarten Cop.
Aren't you gonna break it up? No, 2 more days of this, and you'll quit.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! No. Don't start this. Oh, no.
I've seen the trailer. I saw the trailer before I saw the movie, obviously. I laughed so much at the trailer. I was like, I can't wait to see this movie. Watch the movie. I was like, oh, so they put all the jokes in the trailer, and the rest of the movie is really kind of awful. It was one of the most unfunny movies I've ever seen.
Was this Arnold's first foray into a comedy? Because this was before Twins, wasn't it?
No, this was after Twins. Twins
This
was
was after
88.
Twins.
This was after Twins, which was
okay.
88. No, and that's the weird thing is that like all three, like the three comedies that Arnold is so well known for, Twins, Kindergarten Cop, and Junior, were all directed by Ivan Reitman, who is a comedy genius.
Right.
And it's just weird that he couldn't really pull the funny from him out of this. There are some of Arnold's deliveries are great. There's that thing when somebody asks him when the kids ask him an insulting question, he's like, ha ha ha, shut up. And I thought that was actually kind of funny. But this is more like, this is definitely more action than it is comedy.
Mm.
To be honest, I don't really remember it. I watched it, I probably watched it in the 90s because my dad used to watch lots of Arnold Schwarzenegger films with me and my brother. And we grew up on a diet of early Arnold films like Commando and Raw Deal. Like, seriously, we were kids. One of the first Arnold Schwarzenegger films I ever watched was Commando, and with my dad and my brother when I was quite young. So Arnold was quite a fixture in our house, and Twins is something that I remember just very, very clearly. Kindergarten Cop, I remember bits of it, but it's not really a standout performance. It's not really a standout movie. It's not. It just seems like a little bit meh. Like, you don't really remember it. You remember the premise, but not really anything about it. So I think that just kind of describes it perfectly.
Yeah. I think the tumor line is what came out of this, and unfortunately, that is all that really came out of this. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Tuminator.
Linda Hunt was way funnier than Arnold Schwarzenegger was.
Oh God, not Linda Hunt.
Yep.
Anybody else have any memories of who saw this in the theater? Because I know I did. I paid movie money for this. You didn't see this one? This was one of those movies that when I worked at the first video store, like, people would come in asking for this before it came out in the theater. And it was just like, oh God, this begins. This is my life now.
Wow, that's right out of Clerks.
Oh God, yeah. You have Kindergarten Cop? No, it hasn't come out in the movie theater yet. You'll see it here in 6 months. Leave me alone. Gonna deal with all these old wretched couples renting porn right now. You leave me alone. So, Todd, any thoughts on the Kindergarten Cop?
On the Kindergarten Cop, I saw it home video release or HBO. Probably didn't see it in the theater. It's eminently forgettable. I don't think I wouldn't go back and watch it now. So
that's a good term for it, actually.
Yeah, as evidenced by its 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, you can't get more forgettable than
50%.
I kind of feel like movies like this that are aimed towards like a younger audience. You know, Em had mentioned that, her dad being completely irresponsible, just like my mother's boyfriend was when he took us to the movie theater, Jim, to go see Commando.
How do you know? My father is an excellent father. He's no way irresponsible.
I don't doubt that at all. I'm just making the joke. I'm just making the joke
he opened me up to a wide variety of Arnold Schwarzenegger's cinematic achievements.
Okay.
From a young age, I was very, very grateful.
And now you know that with enough strength, you can actually throw a steam pipe through a human being.
Yes.
Well, with some of Arnold Schwarzenegger's oeuvre, it's probably not that great of a thing to be seen.
Oh man, I watched Commando not too long ago, and it's so great in how terrible it is.
Oh, I love it. I still genuinely love Commando.
When all the squibs explode like in the ground 3 feet in front of guys, and they're just dropping dead, I love that. The thing with Kindergarten Cop is because it's aimed at a younger audience, it's almost like one of those movies that you would think guys my age who've got kids their age would want to show them. And I have like no desire. This isn't like on movies to show my kids.
Definitely not.
No.
Yeah.
I think it's a little lowbrow for that. You know, you know what I look at, and I'm generalizing, I guess, a little bit, but when I think of a lot of movies from the 90s, I know I'm kind of just throwing this all out there. There's so many movies that just fit one genre that I have a hard time picking them out one from another. They all seem to have like a very similar formula. They all seem to kind of have the same, low ball, punch someone in the nuts type jokes that Kindergarten Cop is like, to me, like the poster child for this type of movie. They're just going for the typical yuck all the way through it.
Mm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let's move on to number 9. $103.7 million. Dick Tracy.
Get me, Mumbles. Hello, Mumbles.
What was about you?
Where's Lips Manless?
I don't know what
Where's Lips Manless?
I know you want to do it. Don't like that. I didn't do it. 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 There. I didn't do it anymore. I didn't do it.
Mumbles. Where's Lips Manless? Care for some water? I'm thirsty. Where's Lips Manless? Where's Lips Manless?
Baby girl. Baby girl.
Okay, you heard him, Mrs. Green. That's his testimony. Okay, boys, get him out of here.
His what?
Yeah. I saw this on VHS in the late 90s.
Oh.
I've actually never seen this movie all the way through.
Really? It's on HBO.
Yeah, I've seen like bits and pieces, and I've kind of like put it together. So I think I've seen it, but then I go back and actually think about it. I was like, no, I've never actually seen this movie all the way through. I think I've read the book. Like the novelization. That's about it.
I have seen it. It was a long time ago. I distinctly remember the color saturation. Like they had like all of the different mobsters in like different colored suits to try
My eyes.
It was very kind of in your face.
Yeah, they were going for like live action comic strip.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah, and it kind of didn't work, and obviously it was.
It didn't work.
It was a performance by Madonna, which To be honest, and I will say, I think that Madonna does have moments where she's incredibly underrated as an actress. I don't remember her performance in this at all, so I can't really comment on whether it was good or bad because it was completely unforgettable, as probably was most of the movie once my eyesight was fully restored. But, you know, to me, Madonna is kind of best playing a version of Madonna. Yeah. Like in A League of Their Own, which I still think to this day she's fantastic in. Yeah. But for this, I remember there was a really big deal about her being in the movie, and I think she did something in her tour to promote it or something as well. So
she put out an album.
Yeah, that was it. And
was that her first? That wasn't her first movie, though, right?
No, it wasn't her first movie. No, Desperately Seeking Susan was her first
that's right.
movie. But yeah, no, M's right about that, as is Catherine. That she put out the album I'm Breathless, which was essentially her stuff from the movie Dick Tracy plus Vogue, and some other just kind of songs of the era. But yeah, she was a huge part of this hype train.
Well, wow, that's Madonna at the height of her powers.
Yeah, and that's what the movie Truth or Dare is essentially. It's following her on that tour. When she was dating Warren Beatty, which wasn't at all creepy, and
yeah, she was out having sex with 18-year-old acrobats. It happens, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I think for me, the thing that stood out the most for me about this movie isn't the movie itself, but how much they wanted to be Batman. I mean, the marketing in this movie it was next level.
They marketed the shit out of this movie.
Oh my god.
They preceded the movie with a Roger Rabbit short.
Yes, they did. I forgot about that.
Make it appeal to children. And I'm like, Dick Tracy's not a children's movie. It's not Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's nothing like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. To me, it feels a bit more grown up. I don't understand why they wanted to appeal to a child audience.
Well, they're both Touchstone, right?
Yeah, yes. This was put out from Disney through Touchstone. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
But the weird thing with this movie also is I watched it 2 weeks ago. First of all, High Definition did this movie no favors because for as much ambition that's up on the screen, you can see the rips in the fabric when you're watching this with a clearer picture, which really is disappointing. And there's also that point too where you're watching some of the characters like Pacino. At the very beginning, you're like, okay, I'm kind of digging what he's into. And then 5 minutes after you come to that realization, you're like, nope, I'm done. I can't take any more of him.
Well, what do you think this movie was? I think they knew they had a crap script. They were looking to sell toys. It was just a very long commercial. They're looking to sell wristwatches and yellow fedoras and stuff like that.
I gotta say, this year in 1991 were the years of Charlie Korsmo. He played the kid.
Yeah, I know he played the kid in this. He was also in What About Bob in 91.
Yeah, he was in What About Bob. He was in Hook. Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
And then he worked. He did it in another feature in 1998, and then nothing until 2019. He had 2 years where he just exploded and then did nothing.
And he's also one of those kids you wanted to see someone take a Tommy gun to him in this movie. He's so annoying.
I really liked him in Hook.
But Warren Beatty was 53 years old when he made this movie. Yeah. And it shows. Hold on a second. No, I'll be right there. Oh, God.
Jeez, I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah.
All that money on fancy gadgets, they couldn't have given him a pacemaker.
Okay, we're ready to move on to the next one, folks.
Yeah.
All right. Number 8, $117.5 million. Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
Too bad, McLean. I kind of liked you.
Is it wrong that I like it more than the first one?
Yes.
You know what, Jim? It is, but I still won't hold that against you because I still think this is kind of a quality Die Hard movie.
I really, really liked it. I don't know why. I hate. To me, any movie like that where you truly despise the villains, because remember they crash the plane and kill all those innocent people.
Yeah.
And then your blood's boiling. And you want to see them all get their nuts cut off. And to me, that's really was quintessential. Like, I didn't hate Hans Gruber. I thought he was kind of charming. Hey, an international bandit. Look at him. But in this movie, I actually really hated them. Like, to this day, every time I see William Sadler, I'm like, ooh, he's the motherfucker who killed all those people.
Yeah, I can never hate William Sadler. He played Death.
Yes, he did.
It again, I believe.
Yes, he will.
Yes, he will.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait.
Me neither.
I thought it was very.
That's
obviously,
our
they're both
Keanu
awesome.
reference.
Die
Thank
Hard's a
you.
great-
I had to make a Keanu reference for M.
Yep. Your obligatory Keanu Reeves reference. All right. What's Jim? I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, I remember because you and I went to go see it.
Yeah.
And I remember really enjoying it. And of course, I love Die Hard as well. It's like a top 20 movie for me. But I like this one more. If it's on, I'm like M when Three Men and a Little Lady come on. I will stop and I will watch it.
You know what I liked about it too is that he did have more interaction with more people in this. And while I like the seclusion of the first Die Hard movie, I just think the first Die Hard's a masterpiece. This is still a really fun movie. I mean, I think the first three Die Hard movies are fantastic for different reasons all on their own, and then everything else just kind of turned to shit really fast.
Is the third one with Jeremy Irons?
Yes, Jeremy Irons and Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
So, anyone else have any thoughts on Die Hard 2, Die Harder?
Yeah. I would just like to say that I think Die Hard is A, one of the greatest Christmas movies ever made.
Yes.
And B, I think Die Hard is pretty flawless, just on its own. Everything about Die Hard I absolutely love. When it comes to the sequels, any sequel to Die Hard, I often find that because I love Die Hard so much, that the sequels I tend to get a bit confused as to which sequel is which. So I'll be completely honest. I have seen Die Hard 2, Die Harder, but I don't actually recall it to a great extent. That might be because I watched Die Hard so much. But, and I'm a big fan of Alan Rickman. Just anything with Alan Rickman in, I adore that man completely. Yes. Like if I could bring him back from the dead, I would marry him. I genuinely.
Yeah.
Now wait a minute, like back from the dead for real, or like Pet Sematary back?
Well, I was just going to say, like, if Keanu decided that he didn't want me, which I mean, let's be honest, it's that is never going to happen. But
he might be listening.
I mean, if he is, then my the ways to get in touch will probably come at the end of whichever episode, probably the second episode. I don't know how Andy's going to do this, but Keanu, you get in touch with me, please. But I think because I love Alan Rickman, I think because Bruce Willis is so good in the original Die Hard, that sequels just they're not memorable enough for me.
No, you know what's funny? For all the reasons that you just said, Alan Rickman, the cast is better, the writing is better. Everything about Die Hard 1, in my mind, it should make it the better of the two movies. There's just this one weird rogue element in the second one that made me love it. It's inexplicable. I can't say why. Although I do like the fact that you said it is a Christmas movie, because I have started to see shirts that say it's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls out of Nakatomi Tower.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, anybody else have any thoughts on Die Hard 2, Die Harder?
Shines a bigger spotlight on Reginald Dell Johnson. I'm always good with that.
He's barely in this movie, though. He's like in at the very beginning, working the desk and eating his Twinkies.
But he's in it.
That's very true. He is in it. And this is
Carl
right.
Winslow, let's go.
Laurence
Yep,
Olivier.
this is around the time of Family Matters before they introduced Steve Urkel. So.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, the great actors, Laurence Olivier, Reginald Bell Johnson.
Amen.
All right. Anybody else have any thoughts before we move on?
No.
How can the same thing happen to the same guy twice?
I don't know. Ask Jack Bauer.
Oh, Jesus. 7 seasons of this.
I just want to go to the toilet, god damn it.
But it's only 7 days.
All right, number 7 on the list with $119.3 million. One of my personal favorite Schwarzenegger movies, Total Recall.
Fuck you! Doug. Honey, you wouldn't hurt me, would you, sweetheart? Sweetheart, be reasonable. After all, we're married.
Consider that a divorce.
That was your wife? What a bitch.
Oh, yes.
Any movie that introduces the 3-boobed alien has got to be up there.
This is like everything that is great about Schwarzenegger movies because it's really inventive. It's high concept, and the acting for almost every supporting character is so laughable you can't not love them all.
Sharon Stone is his wife.
Oh God, Sharon Stone is his wife.
That's the best she ever looked, though. Oh my God.
Even Rachel Ticotin, who played the brunette, she's kind of terrible in this. The dude who played Benny. He's honestly the worst actor in this entire movie, and I'm including Quado in that.
But you know what? I always love seeing more Michael Ironside. Something about Michael Ironside, I love seeing him in movies. He's not great, but he's just got an intensity to him.
He is the poor man's Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing with Paul Verhoeven, who directed this. It's like he always calls upon Michael Ironside to be the Tommy Lee Jones heavy.
Yeah, he did it with RoboCop.
Was this the same guy who brought us Iron Eagle?
No. Paul Verhoeven directed the original RoboCop. He directed Starship Troopers, Basic Instinct, and this gem.
Was Michael Ironside in Basic Instinct?
He might have been. You know what? In all honesty, there's so many people in that movie. I forget everybody except for like the lead 3. Now, what about anybody else have any thoughts on Total Recall before we kind of take a little more of a dive into it?
I would just like to say that for Total Recall's complete cheesiness, because it is quite a cheesy movie with its cheesy lines. It's got a lot of cheesy lines, mostly delivered with aplomb, actually, by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I also think that the practical effects are, on the most part, still very, very good. The scene that used to scare me the most when I was a kid was when he ends up on... I can't remember how he gets out there. Does he get blown out onto Mars? And his face starts to... because obviously he's kind of in the elements, isn't he? And that scene of his face kind of contortioning and his eyes kind of bulging, that scared the shit out of me when I was a child. Because again, it was one of those Arnold Schwarzenegger movies that I watched with my dad. So I got the 3-breasted lady quite early in my life. Luckily I didn't grow up to look anything like her, which is a bit sad for me, really, because everyone, or all the guys seem to quite like her. But yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, but from the last time I watched it, the practical effects still looked quite good. And for a movie that's 30 years old, I think that's quite a feat. It's quite an inventive movie as well, with the animatronics that it uses. Yes. So I have nothing but fond memories for Total Recall.
I think that there is a certain aspect. There are some of those, like any of the puppets and any of the maquettes that they used. There's a level of cheesiness that you can totally forgive and you can accept with this movie that you don't. A lot of a lesser film, you'd be pissing and moaning about those special effects, but with this one, you just kind of accept them.
Oh, Andy, you can't leave Quato. Quato is gold, man.
I actually just saw Robot Chicken the other night with the real reason why Abraham Lincoln wore that tall hat. Like some dude knocked the hat off, and this Quato had like 2 handguns, and he had to shoot the 2 guys that knocked the hat off. He's like, "This can never happen again, Abraham."
You know what stands out for Total Recall for me? Not except for Sharon Stone and the 3-boobed alien. Is they had, remember back in the day when they had hotlines you could call for like the popular movies?
Yeah.
Obviously before the internet. And I always remember Schwarzenegger. It was on TV. Like you could call the Total Recall hotline. I don't know what the purpose was, but you could call up, and Schwarzenegger did the commercials like, "Remember, call 1-800 go to Mars." That was it.
And then he picks up, "Hello, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Get your ass to Mars."
I'm busy on the rocket ship to Mars. Thank you for your 1050.
It's also worth pointing out, just in case anyone who's listening isn't aware, that the title of this episode, We Can Remember It For Your Wholesale, actually comes from Total Recall as well. Because that's the name of the original novella. It was called We Can Remember It For Your Wholesale.
And that's by Philip K. Dick, right?
Yep. Yeah.
All right. I knew somebody was going to come through on that one. Anybody else have any thoughts on Total Recall? Todd or Catherine?
I just love when they're putting the memories in his brain. One of the technicians is going, "Blue scares on Mars. You'll never see it."
Yeah. Oh, that was the thing. There was like all of those like little like Easter eggs to see, is it really real?
Yeah. Is this really happening, or is this what he had put in his brain?
You know what I'd love
Well,
to
don't
know?
worry. We tend not to fuck things up around here.
You know what I'd love to know? How much did Schwarzenegger make in 1990?
I think they stopped paying him in money and just started paying him in military weapons and machinery.
Sounds about right.
I don't need any more money, but I'll take that tank over there.
Well, now he's got his pet donkeys.
All right. So let's move on to number 6, $122 million. Every dad's favorite movie, The Hunt for Red October.
Kakovny but Bakaru. What's so funny?
Well, the captain seems to think you're some sort of cowboy.
New по-русски.
Немного. Полезно знать, что думает противник. Не правда ли?
It is.
I doubt you'd remember, but we met once at the consulate in Leningrad, along with your wife. I'm very sorry.
What gives you the right to fire on my ship? Your signal said nothing of a torpedo.
Ryan? It was necessary to maintain the illusion for your crew.
My crew are being rescued, yes?
As we speak.
You sent the signal.
That's correct, sir.
Then how did you know our reactor accident was false?
Well, that was a guess, but it seemed logical.
Very well.
I love this movie.
It's the best of the Jack Ryan movies. I
Yes,
don't
it is.
fight anybody who disagrees with me.
And I also think Alec Baldwin is my favorite Jack Ryan as well.
Over Harrison Ford?
Oh yeah.
You know what? It's interesting because, Mike, I agree with you on that, even though I think Alec Baldwin is woefully miscast, but he's still a better Jack Ryan for some odd reason.
See, the interesting thing about this movie is that the director was Mick G, right?
No, this was John McTiernan.
Yeah, sorry, Mick
The whole
G.
reason, yeah, that's why he didn't direct the second Die Hard movie, and Rennie Harlan did.
But I mean, this movie is very, very similar to the original Die Hard, actually.
It's Die Hard on a sub.
Yeah, basically it starts with Alec Baldwin on the plane. Starts with John McClane on a plane. It's a guy that it really has no real action skills, being thrust into a scene where into a situation where he has to use action skills.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think that this is one of my favorite Sean Connery roles. Absolutely love him in this.
Yeah.
It's funny because he's intimidating, and I love the fact that they make fun of his accent. All the things in the ship don't react well to bullets.
Yeah, like me.
I was thinking, because how Mike was saying that he liked Alec Baldwin, and did you read the books? If anybody read the books beforehand, Jack Ryan has kind of almost like an egghead. He's not supposed to be like a nerd, but he has kind of an academic eggheady type thing going. And Alec Baldwin did a really good job portraying that.
Yeah.
Where Harrison Ford is just a badass. He's always a badass.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Get off my plane, Mr. President.
Get off my sub.
Todd, Catherine, M, any thoughts on this one? I figured we can get more conversation about this one, but this might just be like a...
It's been a while.
So long. It's been so long since I've seen this.
The things that stick most for me are Tim Curry's short bit as his character, and the fact that the radar operator hears the singing on the silent moving submarine.
That's right. Oh my God, I forgot all about that.
Yep. I heard singing.
Yeah, after they had just raked him over the coals for just listening, he was listening to the pings like they were music.
Yeah.
Well, the entire crew of the Red October were singing, so maybe the vibrations would go out into the water a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. Clancy really had a way of kind of, for a guy who was like so into military weaponry and, like getting it absolutely right. It is kind of interesting that if the plot called for it, you can hear through, 3 feet of solid metal.
Yeah.
Hey, don't forget, Scott Glenn reprises his role as Beef Jerky with Eyes. He's in that.
I like Scott Glenn. He's a funny guy.
This is a great cast. I'm going to have to go back and watch this with a more discerning eye.
It's good. It's actually very, very good.
This is one of those movies. This and U571, every once in a while, if we see either of these on a streaming service, we'll sit and watch it because it's odd, especially because, any of you guys who know my wife, you wouldn't think that she would like submarine movies that much, but she really liked this movie and U571. K9 the Widowmaker, not so much, but
yeah.
Well, U571 is good until John Bon Jovi died. Then I was fucking out.
Yeah.
I'm actually just looking up where I can watch this because I've actually never seen it. But the description of Die Hard in a sub really makes me want to. So I can actually stream this for free. So
nice. And it's got an obscenely young Alec Baldwin.
Yes.
I'm always down for some young Alec Baldwin.
I think is that the first movie that broke him?
No, Beetlejuice was
2 years.
Was it Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Beetlejuice. Yeah, sorry. Beetlejuice is like 88 or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
I would say that this was probably his first kind of really starring, like carrying the movie.
Yeah.
Because Beetlejuice, he's the main character, but let's say everyone in that movie takes his backseat to Beetlejuice.
Right.
Despite the fact he's only in it for 20 minutes.
He's probably the fourth character in that, behind Beetlejuice and Winona Ryder and
And
yeah.
Gina Davis.
He kind of is, yeah. All right, let's move on to one. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No, nothing.
I was going to say, all right, let's move on to number 5. The movie that our friend Paul English mentioned was the top-grossing independent film for 10 years, $135.2 million, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It's strange being back on the old farm. Even after all these years, it still feels like home. My amazing new friends have suffered their first real defeat. That's bad enough, but they've also lost the opportunity to find out about their mentor, and I'm sure that hurts them much more than anything else. Each of them deals with this confusion in his own way. Donatello has found someone to latch on to.
Not even close, Zipneck. Professor and Marianne, happily ever after.
No way, Atomic Mouth. Gilligan was her main man. They'd be married and have 6 kids by now.
Gilligan was a geek, Barfaroni.
You're the geek, Camel Breath.
The dome head.
Elf Lips.
Let's give this a try. See if this transplant work. Fungoid.
All right, here goes. What are we on?
G.
Here goes, Gackface.
I'm ready, host.
Oh, dear God.
All right. I just watched this last night on Netflix, man.
I got to say, I really love this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There's
great.
nothing. There's nothing
it really
like.
holds up.
Yeah, exactly. It's just weird because there's nothing incredibly special about it, but it's so well done that how can you not love it?
Wise men say forgiveness is divine, but nobody pays for late pizza. Although we were thinking there's no way these days you could get away with calling somebody Broadzilla.
No.
That would be correct.
I mean, I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, because that was the first movie in a very, very long time that I saw in theaters. But I still really love this one, too. This is the first time that they'd really kind of done, like, full suits for a character throughout the entire movie.
Shop.
Yeah. Yeah, fully articulated faces, the fact that they cast, like, actual martial artists
to
do everything. And unlike Secret of the Ooze, they actually were allowed to use real weapons in this one.
Yeah.
They didn't fight people with sticks of pepperoni because moms complained.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of mums complaining, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were quite big over here. I mean, me and my brother, like, we had the toys. I'm pretty sure my brother had, like, a backpack for school, and we would watch. This movie was pretty much, like, on all the time. This one and the sequel, I watched a lot as a kid. Bearing in mind as well, it was also running probably alongside movies like Super Mario Brothers, which were kind of perennial favourites in my childhood, along with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But there was a big issue here, and I don't know if it was a similar issue over there, with the cartoon show, because the cartoon show was really popular over here as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a million versions of it too.
Yeah, but the cartoon show had to be renamed for here because of the word ninja, because parents didn't like the word ninja. So it was renamed Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, and I don't know if it was still called Ninja over there or whether it was called Hero.
It was called Ninja.
So they made to a Japanese racial stereotype? Much better.
I think it was because I think parents thought that it would encourage children to fight. I don't know. I mean, me and my brother did fight, but it wasn't because of a word in a title of a TV show. We just fought because we were brother and sister. But I have not seen this in a long time. I've just had a look to see if I can find it somewhere, and I can't. It's not available anywhere to stream here. But I remember absolutely loving this movie. I remember loving the Vanilla Ice song as well.
That was number 2.
That's the second
That's
one.
number 2.
Oh, is that the second one?
The first one had
T-U-R-T-L-E
power.
T-U-R-T-L-E power.
Oh, it's not as good as Vanilla Ice, though, is
Turtles.
But yeah, just like I said, this one and the second one, not so much the third one, but this one and the second one were very much on, because we had VHS copies of them. Because when we were kids, we didn't really go to the cinema very often, so we tended to wait until stuff came out on VHS. But yeah, I think the practical effects work. I haven't seen it for a long time, but I'm pretty certain, like it's already been said, I'm pretty certain it still holds up. Yeah, it was actually quite groundbreaking, really, in many ways. To have the, animatronic heads on, physical actors who are also martial artists and also knew what they were doing, handling weapons. And it's quite impressive, actually. It's a sort of movie that well, I say it wouldn't get made now, but it did get remade because it was Michael Bay remake, didn't he? Which I watched maybe about 20 minutes of, and I thought it was horrendous and turned it off.
Yeah, fair enough.
I never had
Michael Bay produced the two remakes movies.
Oh, he was just a producer, was he?
He was just a producer, yeah. But you know what? It had all of his fingerprints on it. His sticky, awful fingerprints.
Yeah, not even Megan Fox made me want to watch it. And I know I have a lot of fondness for Megan Fox, but even she couldn't make me want to sit and watch it. So I just feel bad for Megan Fox.
Yeah. Todd, I kind of feel like this is a movie you watched a lot as a kid.
Oh, you better believe it, my friend. This movie came out, and wait for it, I was 5 years old. Like Mike, I am partial to Secret of the Ooze because that came out on my 7th birthday.
Ooh yeah, virtual high five.
Virtual high five. I saw this movie, Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, with in a birthday party in a movie theater, and I don't know if they still do that or not, but it was super fun.
Yes.
And I had my brothers were there, and it was great, featuring pre-Diesel Kevin Nash as Super Shredder. I love that. But going back to this one, it appealed to me as a kid, and it has also appealed to me in subsequent rewatchings because it's so dark and so gritty, and there's no one better than Jim Henson to take on this undertaking of making these turtles, do what they do. It's amazing. And Casey Jones is great. It's amazing. I love this movie.
Yeah, Casey Jones was spot on. Yeah. I believe in subsequent movies they got a different guy to play Casey Jones, and he was awful.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't in the second one, but they did bring him back for the third one. It was the same actor, but they didn't give him anything to do.
Ugh. I also think that the April O'Neil in the first movie is better than the one they replaced her with in the second one.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It looked way more like the one in the cartoons and everything. She was great. Oh. And the subsequent Aprils were awful.
Yeah. Interesting enough, I don't think it made a whole lot of money outside of the U.S. Just looking at the domestic release is 135.2. International was only 201.9.
Yeah, no, this is very much an American property.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to number 4, $178.4 million. Pretty Woman. Ugh.
May I help you? I'm just checking things out. Are you looking for something in particular? No, well, yeah. Something conservative. Yes. You got nice stuff. Thank you. How much is this? I don't think this would fit you. Well, I didn't ask if it would fit. I asked how much it was.
How much is this, Marie?
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
Look, I got money to spend in here.
I don't think we have anything for you. You're obviously in the wrong place. Please leave.
I haven't watched this movie in forever. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say this movie is aged horrifically.
Well, considering it sucks, I don't know how it would age well.
Well, it's like a modern interpretation of George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion, which was done pretty well with My Fair Lady, although that movie was not great. And then it's no.
Not much good to say. Although it did break Julia Roberts. It did.
Yeah.
It did. And
For
everybody
sure.
remembers that creepy scene with Jason Alexander pre-Seinfeld.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's again like Three Men and a Little Lady. I think a lot of Pretty Woman's amongst a certain community of people. Let's be frank. It's going to be mainly kind of women who are around about middle age, kind of aged women who went to the cinema to watch this and kind of got all eclipsed in the romance element, even though it's not really all that romantic. But anyway, I think there's a lot of fondness out there for Pretty Woman, and I do think it rides on a lot of nostalgia, because it's got fairly quotable lines, and Julia Roberts is actually really good in it, and I
think she got nominated.
Yeah, she was nominated
did.
for Best Actress, and that was the only thing this movie got nominated for.
And I still think that her performance is pretty standout. It's very problematic, incredible. It gets more and more problematic, I think, as it ages. But I certainly think that Julia Roberts is pretty great. And if it gave the world Julia Roberts, then it can't be a terrible thing, because Julia Roberts is, on the most part, generally pretty terrific. So
Yeah, I know. I agree. I think she's a tremendous actress. I mean, actor. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I kind of feel. Well, you know what the funny thing is too. I kind of feel like with this one, and this is the same with a lot of movies, also starring Richard Gere, where he's never been able to get a career resurgence, but other people get it out of movies that he is a prominent part in. I mean, you look at this, even Chicago. I mean,
I was just thinking Chicago.
Yeah,
but
just
that's
which he's actually really good in.
Everybody would get outshone in that movie because it's about the two female leads. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's funny because he was in all these movies, and it's like he's never think of the movie Primal Fear, which came out like 5 years after this. That's Edward Norton's movie, but Richard Gere is the star of that movie.
Yeah.
Well, Laura Linney was a better part than he was in that too. I mean,
Oh, God, I forgot she was in that. I forgot most about that movie. I'm trying to make a point that's just coming to my head right now.
I know what you're saying, but I know what you're saying is that he doesn't chew up scenery when he's in it. He's very low key, and he always tends to be in the background, which maybe it's a shot at his acting ability. I don't know, but
no, maybe.
But don't you think this movie, and When Harry Met Sally, to me is the genesis of the modern day rom-com? Like you think of like all the Jennifer Aniston movies that came out in the early 2000s and the late 90s and stuff like that, and they all have their beginnings in those two movies, and that is, I think, the important thing that Pretty Woman brings.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. It's one of those things too and this happens every year when movies come out. There's got to be that movie that women are going to pay money for, and then people are like, "Oh, I can't believe women go see movies." And for 1990, it was Pretty Woman.
Because heaven forbid that women might actually like something more than a romantic comedy. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Let's
slow down. Let's slow down.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. This, I'm glad you brought that up, Jim, because, I mean, it's weird to hear a comparison of Pretty Woman and When Harry Met Sally, because I love When Harry Met Sally. I am not a fan of this movie.
Right.
So.
But they're very important movies for a specific genre.
Yeah. So, anybody else have any thoughts on Pretty Woman before we move on to number 3?
I have a funny story. My brother is 7 years older than me, so he was in maybe 8th grade in 1991.
Okay.
Something like that. And they watched this in gym class at the end of the year because it was the time where you just sat there and watched movies in class. I remember watching Spartacus in gym class because they had to bring it back to G and PG movies because my brother's gym teacher ruined it by showing Pretty Woman to 8th grade students. So there you go.
Wait a minute. Your gym teacher showed you Spartacus?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Got to teach him how to be a man some way, Jim.
Yeah, there's nothing erotic about, gladiator movies and Tony.
Well, just ask Captain Over.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mike.
Jimmy,
Billy, do you like movies about gladiators?
You ever been in a Turkish bath?
All right, so let's move on. Number 3, $184.2 million, and the winner of the Academy Award for Best Picture,
Overrated.
Dances with Boredom. I'm sorry, Wolves. Dances with Wolves.
Tatanka. 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 Here. Tatanka. 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 Buffalo. Oh. Buffalo. Tatanka. Buffalo. Buff. Buffalo. Tatanka. Say.
The fierce one, as I call him, seems a very tough fellow. I hope I never have to fight him. From the little I know, he seems to be honest and very direct. I like the quiet one immensely. He's been patient and inquisitive. He seems eager to communicate.
They
I
released.
don't know anybody who likes it.
I know one person who liked it. We did theater with him. His
I
nickname
know,
was actually Captain Dances with Wolves.
I just every person who sees it is bored to tears by it.
They released a director's cut of this, Jim, because that's just what this movie needed to be. Longer.
I think I tried getting through it once, and I think I might have fallen asleep, and I never bothered going back.
Oh, this is just Oscar bait.
Yeah. Well, hey, successful.
Why did
It
it win?
was.
It doesn't have a lot of the hallmarks of an Oscar-winning movie.
Oh, it absolutely has all of them. It's got an actor who's making his directorial debut. It's about an important subject. It's historical. And its biggest competition.
It's about oppression.
And it's the biggest competition that year was Goodfellas.
Oh, I love that.
Oh.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in part 2. So I'll be discussing that on your behalf, Jim. But yeah, this movie. I remember when this movie came out, and it's a 3-hour movie that they released on a single video cassette. But they wanted to try to keep the quality of the video up, so they still had like that SP mode. Do you remember like the SP, LP, and EP modes on your video cassettes that you could record? More stuff on it. Yeah, okay.
Yep,
So
SP, LP, and EP.
They kept it on the standard play, but they decided in all of their wisdom to fit 3 hours of movie onto essentially a 2-hour video cassette. They made the videotape thinner to fit more on the reel.
Oh.
So every other tape we had at the video store came back destroyed. And that is really my takeaway from this movie.
Thank you, Roger Ebert.
Yes.
Oh, wait. I have seen this movie. Yeah, but no, I saw the animated version with the bat voiced by Robin Williams.
Oh, Pocahontas.
No.
No, Ferngully.
Yes, that was it. Yes.
To me, Ferngully is better because I've never seen Dances with Wolves. So,
oh, good Lord. Judging by everybody's responses, I don't think anyone besides like maybe me and Jim have seen this movie.
I have no desire to watch it either. Literally none.
Andy, let me thank you ahead of time for spilling our age to everybody. Thank you.
No, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry, Jim. You and I are timeless.
I did see it, and Stands with a Fist was pretty cool. I liked her.
Okay.
But yeah, it was very like we're gonna make the Native Americans understandable by having some white people to blend in.
Right.
Was the concept very similar to Avatar as well?
Yeah, It was.
I
it
do
was
recall
the same
some
thing.
comparisons between when Avatar came out and people were like, this is just a computer-generated Dancing with Wolves. But it still didn't make me want to go and see Dances with Wolves. Because to be fair, I didn't think that much of Avatar, which is probably controversial. But
No.
I think that
Okay.
in Dances with Wolves and Avatar, they flipped the good guys and the bad guys. Usually, up until that point, the cavalry was the good guys and the Native Americans were the bad guys. Then it flips.
Yeah.
Same thing with Avatar.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on to number 2. $217.6 million, and technically, at year's end, was the number 1 movie. But when you take the full year into consideration, it is number 2, Ghost.
Carl, is that you?
Oh, it's me, Otome. Listen, Molly, I know what you think of me. But look, you gotta talk to me. You are in serious danger. I got Sam here with me. We gotta come in and talk to you.
Get the hell out of here. I'm calling the police.
Good. Tell her to do it. Fine, that's what we want you to do. We want you to call the police. But you gotta let us in.
No.
Look, don't you get it? Sam was not just accidentally killed, he was murdered. He found out that Carl was laundering money at the bank. Now, this guy, Carl, is dangerous. I'm telling you, he tried to kill me. He's going to try to kill you, too. You are in deep, deep trouble.
Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Do you hear me? Why are you doing this to me? I can't. I just can't.
Otome, tell her she's wearing the shirt that I spilt the margarita on and the earrings I gave her for Christmas.
Molly, Sam says to tell you you're wearing the shirt that he spilled the margarita on and the earrings he gave you for Christmas. Don't you see I'm not a fake? Not about this.
Oh, my love, my darling. If you go with worldwide
pottery,
if you go with worldwide gross, Ghost is number 1.
Right.
Yeah. I was surprised how much I actually enjoyed this movie.
I've tried. I can't.
You know, it sucks too because I really wanted to take up pottery and Swayze fucked that up for me. Son of a bitch.
None of us will ever look as good as Patrick Swayze doing pottery.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think many men will look as good as Patrick Swayze, full stop, because Patrick Swayze was the sort of guy who could do everything. He could make good pottery. He could dance. Boy, Jesus Christ, could he dance. And you know, true story. A man who can dance is literally the most attractive man in the room. That is just a fact. So, I mean, for me, I haven't seen Ghost in a long time. It always makes me cry. I love Whoopi Goldberg in it. I believe she was nominated. Was she nominated for supporting?
She won Best Supporting Actress. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know she won. I knew she was nominated, but I think she's great in Ghost. I know that people focus on Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, and to be honest, I can give or take kind of the whole lovey-dovey aspect of it. Yeah. I just really like Whoopi Goldberg, and yeah, because it's obviously it is a sad movie. The fact that, you know, he gets murdered and all of that stuff, it is quite sad. I don't. Do the effects still hold up? I don't know.
Somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they went simple, so it wasn't. It aged okay.
Because I do recall when they kiss, it never looks like they're actually kissing. You know, at the end, it looks like they're both standing there with their mouths open. Which always makes me laugh a little bit, because it's like he's a ghost. Yeah. And then she's trying to kiss a ghost, which I suppose is the point. But no, I love Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost. I think she's great, and well-deserved Oscar win for her, definitely.
All right. Anybody else have anything so we can wrap up part 1? I didn't realize how long we were going to be running on part 1. So we got one more to talk about here. The number 1 movie domestically, $285.7 million, Home Alone.
Marv,
Harry?
why the hell did you take your shoes off?
Why the hell you dressed like a chicken?
I'm up here, you moron!
Get me. You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Look what you did, you little jerk.
He's a bratty kid with one of the worst families in the history of cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are no heroes in this movie.
No.
That's not true.
Maybe the old man. Maybe the old man.
The old man who beats them up with the shovel. He's a hero.
Yeah.
The guy playing Santa, I don't know. He's a hero. Gives a Tic Tac.
Is there anyone who does not like Home Alone? Genuinely.
I genuinely don't like this movie.
No.
Oh God!
No. Really?
Come on.
I
a lot of it, I think, just has to do with that. It forgets its concept very early in, and then all of a sudden remembers it and tries to like shoehorn it in.
Andy, you just destroyed Christmas. You suck.
Oh. Well, Jim, I firmly believe Die Hard's one of the greatest Christmas movies ever made.
Yeah, it's still not saving you. You fucked up Christmas. God damn it.
I mean, honestly, for me, if you take off like the first maybe 20 minutes, half hour of the movie, then it becomes a fun movie to watch. The whole setup, I think, is just it. I don't like the setup. It's poorly done, I think. But when they just decide, you know what, let's have this kid torture these two bumbling criminals. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll have a fun laugh with it. Why not?
One of the hardest times I've ever laughed in any movie was when they put the spider on Daniel Stern's face and he shrieks like 10 octaves above his voice. I lose it every time he does that. I'm getting the giggles now just thinking about it.
And from a technical point of view as well, I mean the effects in this movie. I know I bang on about effects and practical effects, and unfortunately, if anyone listens to my podcast, you'll know I bang on about practical effects. But it's so well done, and I know that obviously they're stunt people, but seriously, when they fall down the icy steps, you feel it. You feel every single bang that occurs on their body. It is the one movie that makes me wince more than anything.
The nail.
When he steps on the nail.
Oh, the nail.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and when he gets his head torched, and just little things like that. It really makes me kind of have a very visceral reaction to it. And as much as I kind of think, well, they are literally the worst family ever, because I don't care how many kids you've got, even if you've got 20 kids, if you're going away, you will know where each of your 20 children are. And I kind of feel like, obviously, I do not have 20 children, by the way, but I kind of feel like it's a silly premise to get this little kid on his own. But Macaulay Culkin was such an absolute find. I know that he was in Uncle Buck previous to this, but I think as Kevin McAllister, I think it's literally the only role that he's ever going to be associated with probably for the rest of his life. And I think it's a genuinely fun, but sort of a painful experience to watch, because like I say, you do kind of feel every single thing that happens to those very inept burglars. And it kind of, it does feel a little bit, watching it retrospectively, these two grown adult men are essentially targeting a young boy, which, I kind of feel like, okay, they've got a vendetta against this kid. They just want to rob the house. But it kind of, so they're so focused on this one house with this one kid. And I kind of feel like, it's not very evenly matched. But then you realise just how idiotic that these two goons are. That a 9-year-old boy can outwit them.
But it's basically just a cartoon. It's the cartoon where the smaller creature beats up the bigger creatures, and
that's a great way of putting it.
Tom and Jerry.
And it's Tom and Jerry. It's Wile E. Coyote.
Now,
the kid's the one with all the products from Acme.
I saw this thing online. It was a damage report for both Home Alone movies, but essentially it was every time Harry or Marvin got hit with anything, they would say what they suffered, and half the time it was like, Harry is dead. Marvin is dead. Harry and Marvin are dead.
Iron to the face, dead. Yep.
Yep, exactly. And actually, one of the podcasts that I liked listening to, Sawbones, which does like a deep dive into like medical history, actually did their Christmas episode a few years ago on Home Alone, and they're like, you just don't recover from burns like the one that Harry gets by touching the hot doorknob or the blowtorch to the head.
Yep.
So, Em, you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
we can hear you just fine now. Awesome. Well, that were the top 15 movies of 1990. So, thank you guys so much for joining us. Now, part 2 will be coming up in about a week when we kind of discuss the rest of the movies. But before we wrap this episode, first off, Em, tell people where they can listen to your show.
Cool. Yes, so you can find my show. It's Verbal Diorama. You can find it on any of your podcast apps, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much all of them, actually. And if you want to follow on social media, you can do. It's just at Verbal Diorama on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, wherever you choose to socially media yourself. Say hello, and let's talk about what can we do? We can talk about Three Men and a Little Lady. Let's talk about Three Men and a Little Lady. Talk to me about Three Men and a Little Lady, because I feel like it deserves a hell of a lot more love than this podcast has given it.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, Jim, I know Jim said he's got to drop off, so Jim will not be joining us for part 2 of this. So, Jim, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you, and we'll get you back on for the next episode. Awesome. So we will be back in about a week to discuss the other releases of 1990. So until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Catherine.
I'm Todd.
Go forth and be nerdful. We will talk to you later.
Bye.
Oh my god, listen to that sad, sad music as she leaves. It's like boo-hoo. But it is actually kind of sad.
Anything you see here we can do, by the way. Get ready to have some fun, okay? Mary Pat, Mary Kate, Mary Frances, Tova, let's see it. Come on, bring it on.
I'll just get really happy when they finally let her shop.